What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Healthy, Fit, and Pain-Free Podcast. I am your host, Doc T, and welcome to another edition of Doc T Time. So this is episode 29, and the title of this episode is When Should You Go to the Doctor? Okay, so a little bit about Healthy, Fit, and Pain-Free Podcast. We are here to give you practical, implementable, and no BS advice to help you get stronger, lose weight, get out of pain, and get back to doing the things you love with the people you love. Now, before we dive into this episode today, I do want to make a disclaimer that everything that I mention here is not to be considered medical advice. So please do not take this if you are going through some sort of serious illness, or if you have some acute disease that pops up or anything like that, and then come back to me and yell at me later for it. Okay, so I will say please consult your physician, but you can always use these tips that I am about to provide. So, without further ado, what to do before you go to the doctor. So, I want to make this quick today. Each of these is going to have a few checklist items that I want you to follow, and then this is really going to be the 3 takeaways at the end. So, first thing before you go to the doctor is, number 1 of 6, assess, did anything change? Okay, now, the reason being I want to do this podcast today is because I get asked a question all the time about, should I go to the doctor? Or someone comes to me after going to the doctor and they don't get the best advice. And again, this is nothing against the doctors. It's nothing against the medical system, although I do have my opinions. It is really about giving people the necessary tools. Because many times I have people that they just go to a doctor because they don't know what else to do. And then the doctor either confuses them more, or they start getting passed off to a bunch of different people, and they really don't end up coming out any better than when they went in. So again, want to give that background before I dive into this. So anyhow, number 1, did anything change within the past year, within the past 6 months, within the past 3 months, within the past 1 month, and within the past week? Okay. So this is a very important question to ask. This is one thing that people don't ask often. So here's a for instance. I just had a woman that I was working with today, and she came to me. She was having shoulder pain. She was doing so much better, and then all of a sudden it started to go the other way, and she was not doing so good anymore. And she started to get very anxious, very worried about it. And so I had to, I asked her, if anything changed and blah blah blah. And she starts kind of going down through this list of things. And here we found that within the past 2 months that there was a lot that actually changed that she did that was putting more stress on her shoulder, a lot of emotional and mental stress as well. And so that's why there were changes. So again, think of within the last year, because even the last year, things can start a year ago and then progressively build up over time, whether it's stress, whether it's inflammation, whether it's wear and tear, all that stuff. There's a lot that can build up over a year that we just take for granted because we get so used to it that's really kind of contributing to this. So start a year, then 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, and then 1 week ago. Number 2, think about, is there any change or new medications, new supplements, new foods? Did you start a new diet? Have you been eating out more because your time is limited? Did you start a new medication? God forbid there's enough side effects with those that could easily be the reason for it. Or should you get a medication change? Now, that's something that you can always mention to your doctor as well. We have women here all the time who are on high blood pressure medication, and it actually fights against them because they start doing something good for their bodies. Their blood pressure naturally comes down, but because they're still on blood pressure medication, it actually comes down more than it needs to. So just things to think about. Supplements are a huge one. For me personally, like I've used natural anti-inflammatory supplements before, and they've actually worked against my recovery. So I tend to not use them. So things to think about. And then, like I said before, diet changes. Sleep. Has sleep changed in the past, year, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month? If you have a baby, if you have a newborn, changes a lot. New dog, changes a lot. If you're, if you just moved in with someone, or if you have roommates, or if you're in a new environment, or if you're traveling a lot, that can impact sleep as well. So really important areas to address. Stress. Did your stress go up? Was there a life-changing event? Did you start a new job? Did you add to your job, or are you doing something else that's adding stress? If you have kids, they come with stress in every stage of their life. Your partner, if there's things that surround your partner, life changes, all of that stuff, even stress that we kind of put on ourselves. If you're someone who is kind of trying to go through a weight loss and you're just feeling frustrated, that's stress. Or if you're someone who's trying to start a new habit or trying to change a habit, that also adds stress. And people a lot of times really extinguish what's actual stress in their life, and they are just in denial, if you will, of it. So, number 5, mindset. Has your mindset changed? If you are someone who's happy-go-lucky and you find yourself not being so happy-go-lucky anymore, that's something to think about. Mindset can definitely impact a lot of things. It can impact recovery. It can impact our perception and our attitude towards things. So has your mindset changed? And why did your mindset change? Was there a change that happened? Did stress happen? Are you just focusing on the wrong thing? Was there a tragedy? All that stuff comes into play. And number 6 is activity. Has your activity changed? Are you exercising more? Are you exercising less? Did you change your form of exercise? Are you not exercising at all anymore? Did you used to strength train? Now you're doing cardio. Did you used to do cardio? Now you're strength training. Even around the house, are you moving? That you're doing more activity? Are you helping someone else move? Unfortunately, did someone pass away? And you have to help with that. So these are all additional activities that come into play. Couldn't tell you how many people experience an increase in pain and discomfort at springtime, because winter they've been sitting around doing nothing for the most part, and then they get in the spring work. Or even worse, in the winter, people have a lot of back pain from shoveling because they've been doing nothing, and then they shovel snow, which is fairly rigorous activity for those who aren't prepared for it, and they typically do it wrong. So just to go over those again. So has anything changed in the last year, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 1 week? And you can kind of use this with all these. That's number 1. Number 2, any new medication, supplement, or diet changes. Number 3, any sleep changes. Number 4, any stress changes. Number 5, any mindset changes. And number 6, any changes in activity. Now, I'm primarily focusing on pain here at this point. There's a few other things that can come into play as well, like blood pressure and all that other stuff. Even cardiac things that can come into play here. But for the most part, I'm focusing on pain. But these are definitely things to think about, before you go to your doctor. Really assess these 6 things, because a lot of times these six things can have a huge impact on you. I know for myself, Claire and I were talking, and I think, in 2022, my goal is going to be to actually hit the brakes a little bit and step off the gas with my fitness, because I think, with all things considered, all the lifestyle changes that I've had in the past 2 years, I kind of underestimate what it's done to me and how it's kind of really impacted my health. And so I really need to change how exactly I do and handle things. So again, all major things taken into consideration. So let's say you go down this checklist of 6 things and you haven't answered all those. There's nothing major with all those. You still need to go to the doctor. You still feel like it's possible. Next is, what are 3 questions that you can ask when you go to the doctor? These are very important. A lot of times people go to a doctor and they just expect to walk in, listen, have the doctor tell them what they are supposed to do, and then they walk out of there with more questions than whenever they walked in. So I was really thinking about this, and 3 specific questions I feel like now, granted, remember to, along with this, because my wife and I are both in the medical field, remember too that the doctor, the nurse, the front desk person, they are all people too. So please don't go in there with these 3 questions expecting to fire at them and interrogate them. That's not what I'm saying here. These people, they see a lot of people. They have their own crap that they're dealing with. Don't make their lives any worse. These are just questions to help guide and make things more efficient. Question number 1, is there anybody else I should see? Now, Granted, most doctors will refer you if necessary, but this is something that people don't really ask. Again, they kind of depend on the doctor to, and we'll go through, this later on, things to consider, but the doctor might not be the most knowledgeable at the subject. They might have very little experience with it. And this is a chance for you to ask, is there anybody else I should see? Because then it goes through their mind, oh, yes, I can refer you to somebody else so that I don't have to worry about giving you the wrong information. Hopefully, they are a good doctor, they are a good PA, they are a good nurse practitioner, they are a good nurse, that they are going to point you to go somewhere that will help you. So, and again, when it comes to one thing that drives me nuts, if someone goes to an orthopedic doctor, orthopedic surgeon, even a primary care physician or what have you, and they're having joint pain, and the doctor just offers them a medication or an injection and doesn't send them to PT or refer them to any type of activity, it's horrible. There's no reason that person needs to be getting stronger. That person needs to have someone looking at their movement, helping them through all that. So, again, first question, is there anybody else I should see, or that you think I should see, or do you think would help that I see? Because then it gets the doctor's gears turning a little bit too. Number 2, what is the most holistic way to manage this? Now, if you're someone who loves taking 15 medications a day, by all means, you can ask them for that. But for most of us, that's not necessarily the case. A doctor is quickly going to, and again, we're going to go through this with things to consider, but they're going to use the tool they have at hand. And a lot of times that's medication because, and in their defense, people want a quick fix. People want to feel better. People want something that's going to help, that they feel is going to help them get past the challenges that they're currently dealing with. So they're going to instantly, give you a medication, give you an injection, give you something of that nature. And those are great, but that's just treating the symptoms, not the actual cause. So ask them, is this the most holistic way? And what is the most holistic way that we can handle this? And again, this really gets the doctor thinking rather than, trying to give you an answer because they want to look like the hero and because they're afraid to tell you they don't have the answer because then you'll get frustrated with them. This helps get their gears turning up where they can refer to more. Number 3, is this serious? Now, this is a weird one. This is a weird question, but I really wanted to include this. Everything that comes out of a doctor's mouth sounds serious. Once my wife and I had this conversation, I believe I brought this up on a podcast the other day, but we a lot of times don't think about what we're saying sometimes as medical practitioners. And so, for instance, the term cancer. A doctor will throw out cancer not realizing that as soon as they use the C word, that is all the patient is going to think about. And if we don't choose our words wisely, we can really send them down into a downward spiral. So this is where you have to ask the doctor, is it serious? Now, granted, this question will go down a rabbit hole because the doctor will, kind of lead you in what way of what they consider to be serious or not serious. But, is this serious? How long do you feel this is going to take? What is the best case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? Because it gives people answers. Because a lot of people, they start experiencing shoulder pain or whatever, and they think this is going to be a long road to health. They think it's going to be like 6 weeks to multiple months, and it makes them scared, and they don't have the answers. And so if you ask that question, it at least gives the doctor a chance to give you a timeline or prognosis, as we say in the medical field. So 3 questions to ask. Is there anybody else I should see? What is the most holistic way to deal with this? And is this serious? And can you give me a prognosis? Okay. And also, even is this serious? What's everything look like after this? All right. Now, this is the next thing. When you go to the doctor, there are 3 things you want to consider when you go to a doctor that people don't often think of. People, I hate to say this, people look at granted, doctors have kind of gotten, we all in the medical field, the medical field as a whole has gotten has been tarnished the past few years. And there's a lot of black marks here and there. But for doctors, people tend to go to doctors expecting them to be these free thinking, super intelligent heroes that are going to give them all the answers in the world because they just love helping people. And that's not necessarily the case. Sure, did people get into medicine to help people? Yes. But there are many other things like politics involved that can really influence the way they think. So these are things I want you to consider whenever you do go to a doctor, a PT, a physician assistant, or physician associate now. My wife will be proud of me for that one, and nurse practitioner. So 3 things to consider. First one, that doctor, believe it or not, has limited knowledge. So if you go to your primary care physician, I feel for them. They are expected to have this huge abundance of knowledge in the medical field, which means, we've all heard all heard the saying, a jack of all trade, a master of none. So, they're going to get their, they have limited knowledge. Orthopedic surgeons even have limited knowledge. Orthopedic surgeons are good at knowing the body, knowing the body, like where things should be and how things should be, that they are good at opening things up, putting something new in there, taking something that shouldn't be in there, and then that's it. That's what they're good at. Not many of them are really that well, that knowledgeable and that well experienced when it comes to actual implementation, if you will. They are good at the passive treatment of things, of where they do all the work, but they're not good with the active treatment. They're not good with, the functional aspect of it. And so these are things to consider. Realize that they do have limited knowledge. Hence the question, is there anybody else I should see? Number 2, they have their go-to tools. So if you go to a surgeon, they have a scalpel. They want to use that scalpel, because they love surgery. They feel like it's going to help people. And also there's there's the reimbursement with it. If you go to a PCP or a family med doc, a lot of them, it's prescriptions. That's their go-to tool. If you go to a functional medicine doc, there's the supplements, blood work, all that stuff. So everybody, if you go to a PT, theirs is either movement or hands-on. Everybody has their own tools, and you have to understand this. People expect to go to someone and they're going to get all these tools put at them. No. If you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you have a screwdriver, everything looks like a screw. Okay? So it's like, you have to understand that they are going to only prescribe the tools that they have. So you might not get either the information that you wanted or the solution you were hoping for. So keep that in mind. And I say this meaning that, like, take what everyone says with a grain of salt and make sure you do your research more than Dr. Google. Make sure you see multiple people. Make sure you talk to multiple people, and you have this portfolio, if you will, of strategies of how you want to address this. Number 3, are they willing to help find a solution? If you go to someone and they prescribe you something, or they give you a quick fix and then they send you out the door, this is what's frustrating about the medical field. In reality, you want to make sure that you are going to someone who is willing to help you find the solution. Albeit, reach out to one of their, someone in their network, refer you to somebody else, recommend a book, recommend a resource, give you extra things other than just simply cut this off, prescribe this, inject this, cut into this, do whatever to this. They need to be willing to help find the solution. If they're not willing to help you, if you ask those additional questions and are not willing to help, you need a different doctor. Because believe me, they do not have all the answers. Now, don't get me wrong. If you go to a world-renowned cardiothoracic surgeon and you're having heart trouble and this person is the best in their game, by all means, it's a different story there. But that not being the case, there's, you really want to make sure you do your due diligence here. Bonus thing to consider. Do they practice what they preach? This one is a very interesting one in the medical field. I hate to say it. If you go to a doctor who is overweight, and they don't even look like they work out, sorry to say, like, I don't know how much I would listen to them about health stuff. If you go to a respiratory therapist and they're smoking, or respiratory, or even like a cardiothoracic surgeon, they're smoking or they're chewing or they're, you know, you can tell they are not a walking interpretation of their health, then that's something else to consider. You don't want to go to someone who tells you what to do. Now, granted, don't get me wrong. The medical field, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of crap. There's a lot of long hours that go into it. So it's easy to not have the healthiest of lifestyle. But that is no reason for someone to be hypocritical by providing you advice on what you should do or a quick fix whenever they don't even do it themselves. So, really take that into consideration. So, 3 things to consider when you go to your doctor. They have limited knowledge overall. They have their go-to tools that they love to use that, you need to understand that. And number 3, are they willing to help find a solution, an additional solution? And the bonus, do they practice what they preach? So, in closing, 3 takeaways here. As you guys know, we always love to give you 3 actionable items. And really, I just gave them throughout this entire thing. So, real quick to go down through, before you go to your doctor, 6-item checklist. Did anything change within the last year, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, week? Are you taking any new medications, new supplementations, or has your diet changed? Number 3, has sleep changed? Number 4, are you under more or less stress? Number 5, has your mindset or your mentality changed in any way, shape, or form? And number 6, did your activity change? After you ask those questions, if you end up going to the doctor, here's the 3 questions I want you to ask them. Is there anybody else I should see? Number 2 is, what is the most holistic way to treat this? Or number 2, what is the most holistic way to treat this? And number 3, is this serious? What is my prognosis? What do things look like moving forward from here? Last thing, things to consider when you go to the doctor. They have limited knowledge. They have their go-to tools, number 2. And number 3, are they willing to help find an additional solution? And along with that, do they practice what they preach? So, in closing, again, this is not meant to be medical advice. This is not meant to rip on the medical system. This is meant to help people understand that there's a lot of flaws, there's a lot of imperfections, and that's just because we all go to a doctor, we go to a nurse practitioner, we go to a physician associate, and expect them to have all the answers, and that's very unfair to ask, and also unrealistic. So we have to take these into consideration. So, Healthy, Fit, and Pain-Free is brought to you by Inner Strength Health. We are a full-spectrum health coaching facility that provides physical therapy, nutritional consultation, health coaching, and small group and one-on-one personal training. Our west location is located at 203 Hershinger Road in Coraopolis / Robinson, PA. This is also the western location for Case-Pacific Nutrition. They are a locally owned business with actual bachelor and up credentialed dietitians who help with the medical side of nutrition. They help with the sports side of nutrition, or just everyday gen pop. Inner Strength also has a south location that is opening up here on January 3rd at 108 Commerce Drive in Lawrence. That is between Upper St. Clair and South Fayette for all of y'all out there. I am Dr. Tyler. You can reach me at dr.tyler_Bordick on all of my Instagram and Facebook needs. And you can also reach out to us on the Inner Strength page at innerstrengthpgh.com. That is INNERSTRENGTHPGH.com. Thank you guys so much. I am heading to the beach. Love y'all. Have a great day. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving.